It's hard to describe that feeling when you're alone, but still feel like somebody's there. As I looked into the fog, all I could see was a couple of meters down the road, and a few small areas around me. Honestly, I probably scared myself and my imagination alone. But in truth, my self-implemented fear paled in comparison to the true nature of the fog. I know I haven't really explained myself, and to be true, it's hard to know where to start. I came outside my building. I do it a lot of nights, just to clear my head and allow myself to think about my priorities. Though this night was a little different. It started out the same way as any other, but this night was Halloween, and for some unknown reason, there was a thick fog which, if I'm honest, is actually a pretty rare occurrence, especially in the outskirts of London of all places. I know that most rational people would just think it's a regular natural occurrence that was bound to happen eventually. But truthfully, I'm more of a superstitious person, so that explained the way I was feeling. Truthfully, I was just trying to reassure myself, and I was beginning to get a little more comfortable. I looked into the fog again, and it all seemed calm, almost normal. I continued looking for almost a minute, and a small figure came into sight. I just assumed it was a fox. After all, they were quite common in my area, and as it approached, it became clearer that it was just likely that. So as I continued to look forward, the fox left my peripheral vision, and soon after the fog seemed empty and dense again. But before long, the fox seemed to be back. It seemed a little bigger this time, maybe half a foot taller on all fours. It was about the size of a medium-sized dog. I just passed it off as one of the adult foxes, and maybe what I saw was a younger one. It stared me down from within the fog for quite some time. Something about being stared down by a fox could make anyone nervous. After all, in the right conditions, they can be dangerous in their own right. After rolling up a cigarette, I looked up again, and it started moving. Though now it was walking my direction. Something about it made me almost want to walk towards it myself. I brushed this feeling off and lit up my cigarette. As it continued its slow approach, I started to notice things about it, like its strange colour. It was a dark brown which, considering the ginger and white hue of a normal fox, was strange. Though its tail seemed characteristic of a fox, along with all of the features I could notice from this distance. It continued to progress towards me, and its eyes seemed to glow an orange colour. As I noticed this, I slowly began to edge back towards the entrance of my building. The distance between me and my building seemed almost miles apart, and as I stepped backwards, the creature seemed to be accelerating its pace with each step I took. As it got closer, more of its features became more defined. Its fur wasn't brown, it was black and grey. Its eyes were definitely orange. They seemed to pierce me with their stare. As I noticed these, I backed away further and further, but it still seemed closer. As I came to the realization, I noticed myself bump into the entrance of my building. I hastily drew my keys from my pocket and opened my door wide. I entered as I looked back, and through the glass windows I saw it sitting, as if it was waiting for me to come back out. I stared again for what seemed like an hour, as it stared back at me. As if by some twist of fate, the lights in my building cut. I decided to walk through my second security door and walk to the stairwell. It was then when I was shocked to see it sitting on the other side of the stairwell pane windows, once again looking directly at me, as if daring me to pass it at all. All I could think was, what can it really do? I mean, it's not even in the building. I'm just paranoid. It's just an off-coloured fox. I mean, it's been reported that foxes get that big anyway. I shuddered and walked towards it, and it backed away. And as it disappeared from view, I heard a howl, almost like one a wolf would make, but perhaps a bit bassier. The lights in the building sparked back to life as I started to walk up the stairs, and the sense of fear and dread just seemed like a distant memory. The next day, the fog still continued. but everything seemed normal. I went about my daily routine of going to my sister's on bike, albeit a little bit more cautiously due to the fog limiting my field of view. But other than that, completely uneventful, at least until my return trip home. Now, my sister lives about 5 miles away, which on a pedal bike can take about half an hour, especially considering a BMX of all things. It didn't bother me to ride home late. Tonight though, was different. I must have gotten around 2 miles into my journey before I reached a part of the motorway which was completely devoid of life. Now on a normal night, this was creepy enough to make me pedal as fast as I could, but tonight it was completely amplified by the thick surrounding fog. I started to accelerate as my usual routine towards a 24-hour fast food place where I could grab an on-the-go bite to eat, like a chicken wrap. But as I began the long stretch, I noticed something standing on the side of the road. It looked like the fox again. With no interest to interact or acknowledge it, I began to pedal at my maximum speed, thinking that something like that, no matter how scary, wouldn't catch up with me, even if it wanted to. After all, it was just an animal. Not a pretty one, but still an animal. As I continued down the path, I began hearing another sound, like something running. I looked behind me with dismay and I saw it. I had to do a double take, but it was unmistakable. It was running down the road on the other side of the old A13. It completely passed me. Although it was heart-pounding, it clearly had no interest in me, which at the time I was pretty grateful for. As I continued, I came up to the fast food place, noticing the telltale blue lights flashing. In the middle of the road, there was a body of a middle-aged woman with horrific visual damage from her leg bent in impossible ways to her head being snapped to the side with a pool of blood surrounding her. As I arrived at the scene, I asked the police what happened. They simply told me that it was a wild animal attack, believed to be a large fox, although nobody could really make out what it was in time due to the fog. I felt lightheaded and sick to my stomach and decided now would be a good time to get on a bus. I was close to a bus stop that went almost all the way to mine. I arrived at home and pondered on the thoughts of what I had just seen. The last expression on that woman's face was one of terror, and all that crossed my mind at that moment was, that could have been me. I decided to write this as a way to document quite possibly the most insane 2 days of my life. What you believe is down to you, honestly. I'm just glad it's over now. Although I can say beyond a doubt, I definitely don't like the fog.